Hello, everyone. We are on our way. We are on our way on the road to Stadium Australia. Unfortunately, the 6-foot man that we met in Brussels was not giving out Vegemite sandwiches. He's decided to go to Wales. He doesn't join us today. But we do have the very amazing. I don't know how to describe you because you're just amazing. I don't know. But the ever present, shall we say, Lottie, how are you? Ah, dear.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. I'm back. We're back. We've had our holiday, like our mini break. We've now got our warm up to the road to Stadium Australia, which officially kicks off on the 18th of July, which is really, really exciting. But just to keep us busy and everyone entertained with what we thought we'd bring you some new episodes on the groups. We've got a total of 8 episodes coming up. Really exciting stuff. We've got fans from around the world joining us, which is really exciting. On another note, Adam, as Matt just said, Adam is on holiday at the moment, but fear not, he is still in this episode. We have got a little surprise for you. It's really, really exciting times for us at the moment.
Yes, and where better to start than Group A? Just to put this into perspective, the groups are New Zealand. For this group is New Zealand, Norway, Switzerland, and the Philippines. So where better to start than with the co-hosts, which is New Zealand. So for this, we're gonna have fun and game because it is a lot of difficulty trying to find a lot of this a lot of the information. Ria Percival, currently of Tottenham, is their current cap holder with 161 caps. Amber Hearn has scored 54 goals for them in 125 caps, so they're top goal scorer of all time. However, I nearly said Australia.
I'm really sorry to butt in, but you're also forgetting she was an Arsenal player from 2004-2005 season. I think that's really important to mention. Well, she was only with us for a year, but she is internationally retired, so her goals are up for grabs. Her goal scoring records, I should say.
This is one of the reasons why you don't do podcasts solo. For those for wondering, there's always something that you forget. Yes, New Zealand have yet to also qualify out of the group stages as well. Yep. So it's going to be an interesting tournament for them as hosts. What would you like to see from New Zealand?
I'd actually like to see them go through as a host. I'd want them to go through the group, but I feel like from their perspective, this is going to be really difficult. I feel like sometimes it's just going to sound really bad. They only really turn up when they play the Aussies. I've seen them play the Aussies, and it's like watching a North London derby, but with proper fight in it. Put it that way. There's dirty football on both ends, and it's real physical football, and it's what you want to see in a derby. And basically, Australia, New Zealand, that is their derby. Australia also view the US as a derby as well. So those kind of games, they're the games I want to see. But I think it'll be really interesting to see what they bring through. As it's their sixth entrant to the World Cup. Obviously, they first started off in 1991. And then they had a very long break, and they came back in 2007, and they've been in the last 3, which is 2011, 2015, and 2019. As you said, they haven't made out the group stages. They've now got the Tom Samani as the head coach, and he seems to know what he's doing. But again, I've not been too impressed with the results that I've seen in terms of the qualify. Well, although they're already qualified, they still had to go and attend the. Oh, I've forgotten what their qualification is. Oh my god, that's not good.
The Oceania.
Yes.
World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah, they still went through that. So did Australia. They didn't do too great in that. I think the one player that I do think of when I see Kiwis, it isn't necessarily Ria Percival from Tottenham Hotspur, but it's actually Ali Riley. She's a defender over in the NWSL for Angel City. She's been playing for New Zealand since 2007. She's only got 2 goals, but she's a defender. I feel like this might be her last World Cup because she's now 35, if I remember rightly. She's played over in England for Chelsea at one point. She played for Bayern Munich, but most of her career she has spent over in the US. And she has also dabbled over at Rosengard in Sweden, which I think is pretty cool for her career. But whether she'll keep playing like Marta is after the age of 35, who knows?
Yeah, I think this. What would you say are going to be the challenges for New Zealand? Is it going to be?
I think for me personally, especially with knowing what the Swiss and the Norwegians can do, it will be goal limitation. We never know, we might actually get some surprises out of there. I mean, I think for me, the most interesting fixture out there is going to be Philippines and New Zealand. They've come up against each other in the Oceania and the Asia Cup. The results have been interesting, don't get me wrong. But I think that's going to be key to their points within that group. I mean, Matt, what do you think?
It's always hard to tell when you don't know much about a lot of these teams. So, for instance, New Zealand, I don't know much about. You basically covered a lot more than I would know about, which is a huge. It's also got. We'll talk about Philippines afterwards, and Adam and Unnati, who have done a brilliant job on covering that. A really good discussion about it. It's their first World Cup. It's always when they always think about the teams that have made it their first World Cup, they always want to make some sort of memory. I remember South Africa when they hosted the Men's World Cup in 2010, nearly beating Mexico in that opening fixture. That's the sort of feeling you can bring to a nation if you can get it right, and it feels almost like it is a tipping point with not. Or so that it's going to be negative for tournament for New Zealand, but if they can get a Shabala moment, then, or even if Philippines have that Shabala moment, then it's going to be huge for either of them. And if one or the other goes through, it's going to be a great tournament for both of them. But,
100%. I mean, I do feel kind of bad because I look at Switzerland, I look at Norway, and the amount of players we have in the WSL and some of the other players that play out in Europe, I see them on a regular basis, so I know what's in their locker. But I also don't want to cast doubt on New Zealand because I don't know that much about them. I might know about Ali Riley, obviously Ria Percival and Amber Heard, but that's about it. I don't know anything else about New Zealand, to be honest with you. And I think they could be a dark horse as a host nation. I really could see that happening. You never know, they might actually surprise Switzerland or tear Norway a new one. You just never know. And I think that's what's really exciting about the World Cup for me. It's you don't know what's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So our next team is going to be the Philippines. So I'll just quickly go over this because Adam and Unnati have done a fantastic job with this. They qualified through finishing 4th at the Asian Cup in 2022. They beat Thailand, Indonesia, Chinese Taipei to get there, and they've got some great scorers in their midst. Tanahani Anis scoring 13 and 37 games. Currently playing for Porka KA in Iceland. But on top of that, you've got 13 and 37 so far. But however, it's Quinley Quezada who's got 20 goals in 39 appearances, who is their current national top goal scorer. Alan Stadisic is their manager, former Australian and Central Coast. But we'll let Adam and Unnati take it away because of the Philippines.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Adam Salter, and I'm delighted to be joined by Unnati Naidu to talk about the Philippines. as part of the World Cup, the Philippines will be making their debut in the 2023 Women's World Cup. A team that I think most of us have probably never heard of. But luckily, Unnati has not only heard of them, she's actually watched them play and has much information to pass on to us, which I am extremely grateful for. Just before we get a quick rundown of them, they started in the 1980s. As I said, they're making a debut in the tournament, and they're ranked as high as 46 in the world. So actually, I want to start with sort of when the first time you sort of came across them, which I believe was at the Asian Cup, which was in the middle of COVID. Now, you were very fortunate because you were actually doing some journalism at the tournament. We saw a lot of your photographs and videos. You very luckily got to meet some of the Arsenal stars from Australia, with some one-to-ones with, I think Caitlin Ford came over for a picture. But you also were fortunate enough to watch the Philippines play. So I wondered, could you tell us a bit about them?
Yeah, I mean, they're a young team and, very exciting, upcoming, they were kind of, not everybody, even hope that they would get out of the group stages in the Asian Cup because, quite frankly, a lot of us didn't know much about them. And then, you just saw them play against Thailand in the first group game, and that was where it just struck because it was like the first game that they played, and everyone was hoping Thailand to win because they have previously, they've grown a lot since the 2019 World Cup, so everyone thought that Thailand was going to be the one to win that game, but then there came the plot twist, and Philippines took the 3 points in that game. They scored a goal against Thailand in the very first game itself and, took the 3 points home. And that was like kind of the game changer because suddenly we were expecting Philippines to probably be third in the group, but then suddenly you're switching them to be second in the group, and making it to the knockout stages. So, it was very interesting to see them at the Asian Cups, specifically till the heights that they reached, like they went across till the semifinals, which was absolutely fantastic, and directly qualifying for their debut World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic in my opinion. I feel like what Alan Stage is doing with this team, this young team, I feel like we could expect a lot of things from them, to showcase, bring in a few bits and bobs of surprises, at this World Cup.
So this is interesting because you mentioned the manager's name, so which was, sorry, it was the manager of the team was
Alan Stage.
Yeah, he's actually an ex-Matilda's coach, is that correct? He used to be the
Yes.
Australian team. So there is an element of him coming home for this one. Now, quite interesting you mentioned the Asian Cup. Because they did well in the Asian Cup, they're now in the World Cup. That's how the qualification process goes. So obviously over for us European teams, we have a pre-qualification sort of system where we play the likes of Latvia and Luxembourg. Obviously over there it's slightly different. So between the Asian Cup, where they came, was it third or fourth? Did they have a bronze match playoff with the Asian Cup, or was it just a simple semi-final knockout?
It was a simple semi-final
knockout,
okay. if I'm not wrong, because they played against South Korea, and obviously they lost their game 2-0. But I feel like it was such a good game because throughout the Asian Cup they kind of showed how good they could be, because even when they played against Australia, it was like everyone thought that once again they're going to be like washed through, because Australia is again a dominant force within the Asian Confederation. But it took 45 minutes for Australia to even crack down Philippines. So the entirety of first half was just 0-0, and then it took them the second half to come across, for Australia to find a way and then score goals and stuff.
So yes, the second joint third place we say at the Asian Cup. Between that and obviously the World Cup, I think we discussed. You mentioned, well, you told me earlier that they had there's some other tournaments they've taken part in. So sort of not World Cup level tournaments, but sort of like, I think we probably compare them to like the Arnold Clark Cup sort of friendly tournament. So I wonder if you could maybe tell us how they've gotten on in then, because I think you said, let me see how they went.
Well, so they had the AFF Championship, and then this February they went to the Peanut Butter Cup, and I feel like even though in the Peanut Butter Cup, they weren't able to win games, but I feel like they ended up getting a lot of knowledgeable experience playing against teams like Scotland, Wales, and Iceland. Because if you go to see, except for Iceland, the games against Scotland and Wales was a very narrow loss for them. So I feel like it kind of gave a lot of encouragement and experience to them to take lessons from everything that they did wrong in those games that they could possibly improve in the World Cup. Because again, this was like one of those times where, they could take experience from these European teams and then utilize that in the World Cup. So I feel like that was very important for them, and I feel like because they did that, it's certainly going to help them in the World Cup.
So that was the AFF tournament. You say that was the one they.
No, this was the Peanut Butter Cup.
Oh, sorry, the Peanut Butter Cup, February.
In February,
so they didn't win that one.
Actually, no, they obviously did not, sadly, but they did end up winning the AFF championship, which was spectacular in my opinion, because they scored brilliantly against Thailand, and if I'm not wrong, the scoreline is somewhere. The scoreline is kind of very interesting that they had against them. That's a 3-0. Yep, that's a 3-0 against Thailand in a final, which is fantastic because they lost 1-0 in the start of the tournament to them, but I feel like they've just been phenomenal.
And also they did play someone else in that tournament, someone I think which is we got a bit of interest with the Republic of Ireland, I understand. Is that correct?
Not exactly in the AFF tournament, but they've previously played against Republic of Ireland once, and again, like I said, very narrow win to the Republic of Ireland, 1-0. So obviously that experience is going to be taken into consideration when you're going to go into the World Cup, because again, it's a debut World Cup for them. What they're going there to experience it all and enjoy it all. I feel like the country has been celebrating the fact that they've gone to the World Cup, and some of these players, it's like an absolute dream for them. So if anything, I'm kind of like very excited to watch them play, because I feel like this is a team that not many people know about.
No,
and they're going to bring in a certain level of surprise, hopefully, by the way they have played in the Asian Cup and all the other tournaments, really.
Just want to come on to that. You mentioned about the players. I don't know the names of any of the players in the team, and I'm pretty sure no one. And this is not an ignorance of the Philippines, but certainly over us in the western side of the world, we've probably never seen the Philippines play. We certainly don't have any Filipino players in the WSL. So I was wondering if you could maybe tell us who are sort of the key players we should be looking out for. Talking strikers, playmakers in the midfield. Who are the exciting ones? Who are the gems we should be looking out for?
Definitely Serena Bolden. She's a forward for the team, and she's absolutely brilliant. I feel like she's had such a huge impact on that team in terms of how they play, and she's actually sometimes how we usually for Arsenal, sometimes it's like the key players we call Viviana Miedema or Beth being like, oh, it had to be them. In the Philippines national team, it's like, oh, it had to be Serena Bolden. So she's a key pivotal player in this team, and she scored some absolute bangers. Another one we need to keep an eye on is Hallie Long. She's a defender for the team. Very solid in my opinion. She sometimes scores, and if she's scoring absolute screamers.
As a
And
defender.
as a defender, is that giving you certain nightmares?
No, I'm getting McCabe sort of images now of them cutting inside and bending him into the top corner. So I'm looking forward to that.
But yeah, like again, you know, she's absolutely brilliant in my opinion. And Quinley Quezada, again, you know, very good player, young, and you know, just brings a lot of tenacity to the game in terms of how she attacks and stuff. So I feel like the attacking side of it, they're good, you know, like you cannot count them out. Even, you know, as a goalkeeper, you know, if you see in the goalkeepers lineup, you know, you have someone like Olivia McDaniel, again, who's been very solid, especially during the Asian Cup as well. Very solid, came on to take penalty during the penalty shootout. And yeah, her sister, who unfortunately suffered an ACL injury, Shandlin
Another
McDaniel.
one.
Another ACL. But yeah, she obviously recovered and she's going to be playing, hopefully. And yeah, you know, again, these are players who we definitely need to keep an eye out for, because you know, they've just solidified the way the team plays, and they have a huge impact in how the team performs. So yeah.
Just wanted to go back to the fact that they are quite a young team. They're making a debut. They obviously had a good Asian Cup, but lack, I would say, tournament experience. At a risk of sort of comparing apples and oranges here, if we flash back to the last World Cup, 2019, we had Thailand come over to the World Cup, and I think we can honestly say they didn't play very well against the USA. Is there a risk of the Philippines suffering something similar, or do you reckon they're strong enough in this World Cup? Because they've got in their group, they've got Switzerland, and they've got I think it's New Zealand as well in their group, who are just experienced teams with more experience, shall we say, playing maybe at this level. Are they going to be up to the task?
You know, obviously we need to understand that, you know, what happened against Thailand. You know, they were up against the world champions, you know, the USA. So,
yeah.
You know, obviously, like,
well, yes, yeah.
You know, 13-0 is, you know, obviously shows their strength and tenacity. But, you know, for me, I feel like this is a start for the Asian Confederation in general to, you know, start investing more in their teams, so that, you know, when the teams come to the World Cup, you know, there is going to be more and more competition from them as well. Like, you know, we see China, who are one of the more successful teams in the Asian Confederations, having the most Asian Cups, but you know, there are times where they have sort of struggled to play against the European teams. But then you have someone like Japan, who's won a World Cup, for God's sake.
They have. So, they did very well for themselves. I mean, I remember that particular World Cup. That was, I think it was 2011, and I was one of the ones I was really hoping England were going to go all the way, and they actually beat Japan in the group stage. Unfortunately, being English, we lost on penalties. And so I became an honorary Japanese fan for the rest of the tournament. I was very impressed with the fact they actually beat the USA on the way as well. It was quite a memorable moment for Japan, and probably for Asian football as well. So fair play to them for that. So look, obviously you're quite confident with them in their group. I was saying they've got New Zealand, Switzerland, and Norway. Sorry, is the other team.
I feel like it's not going to be, you know, if you ask me about it, it's not going to be 13-0 kind of a game.
No.
Like, you know, I feel like they've done well enough to have some confidence in self to not lose a 13-0 game. But, you know, obviously there is a chance they might lose. But then again, it just shows that, you know, they're going to progress further and further ahead, because like you said, you know, this is their debut tournament. So obviously there's going to be more learning coming from this tournament than any other. So obviously,
yeah,
you know, it's going to be a learning curve.
So,
but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be 13-0.
No, I really hope it isn't, because we don't want to go to the World Cup. We want it to obviously be very competitive, and I based on what you said, I'm confident it will be. So just to sort of finish, obviously that group, do you think they will be the ones? Do you think they'll get out the group? In a group that contains Norway, Switzerland, and New Zealand. Obviously, New Zealand being the host, they're going to open the tournament. is this going to be? Is this going to be unfortunately because of the first one and they've got 3 experienced teams? Are they going to be the whipping team as we sort of know them as, or is there a chance they could do an upset like the Asian Cup and maybe Norway wasn't great in the last Euros? You never know. It could be a hangover. Is there a chance they could get out the group?
I mean, you never know because like obviously, like I said, nobody expected them to get out of the Asian Cup in the group stages because you had someone like Thailand in the group. But then again, it's again brings in the the question always, and the thrilling experience of the World Cup is like, are they going to cause an upset? They have the possibility of doing that. I'm not going to deny it, but the thing is that you never know what's going to happen.
No.
But obviously, I feel like there are going to be some nerves because it's their first World Cup. So I feel like that jitters is definitely going to be there. But if they can get past that, they're who knows? They might just cause an upset. Who knows? They might just go ahead.
Well, if they are defensively secure, and you seem to insinuate that they have an element of defensive solidity in the team, and they've got this exciting talent, as you say, in attack, and they've got an experienced coach leading them into this tournament. I don't know. I think the team, they might be one of those teams that people sleep on. I think people will just maybe brush them off and think it's just the Philippines, and obviously Norway and Switzerland. Of course they're going to get through. But by the sound of things, I think Philippines might cause a few surprises. And at a World Cup, that's exactly what you want to see. If they get a few, if they score a few goals, and I remember just sort of back to Euros when Portugal came in. No one thought much of Portugal, and they were obviously we didn't get the group. But I went to watch them play the Netherlands. It's one of the most exciting games of the Euros. I mean, the Netherlands won 3-2, and they obviously drew 2 against Switzerland. Just really fun to watch, and I hope that even if the Philippines don't get out the group and it all goes, they don't win a game, I hope they are as entertaining as they were certainly for you in the Asian Cup. So
I was at the edge of my seat. I was, I want to recall this because this was really funny. I was, I was in Pune for Australia versus South Korea, which Australia lost, by the way, in the quarterfinals. And then you got Steph Curry and and Caitlin Ford back, and then Caitlin Ford starts scoring goals like bazookas. But the thing was, like, I was we had the quarterfinals against Chinese Taipei versus the Philippines on the same day in the evening, but I had to come back to Mumbai and I wasn't able to attend that. But you know what, on my way in the car, I was sitting and watching the game. I'm telling you, Adam, I was at the edge of my seat the entire game because it was like, one team, Chinese Taipei scores, and then, Philippines comes and equalizes. Philippines scores, they come and equalize. And then even during penalties, it was like us being at the edge of our seats. And it was absolutely like thrilling, a very thrilling experience, because if you ask any Filipino fan, like any Filipino in general, they're going to be like, we were awake at 4 a.m. in the morning watching this game and, trying to control our screams because our families are going to be like, can you stop screaming? It's 4 a.m. in the morning. But, that was what this team brought out of the country. And everybody there was so excited about the fact that they were going to go to the World Cup because, come on. This is the first, this is one of their first teams. Like, even the men's team has never been to the World Cup. So So, it was absolutely fantastic that, the women's team is going to take the country to the world stage. So that was the cause of the celebration. And, that country has celebrated it.
Yeah, well, it's also good to see that the country is obviously getting behind their team for this one. Obviously, that's fantastic to see, and certainly sounds like they're going to be a team for the neutrals. Shall we say? If you haven't got a horse in Group A, maybe have a punt on the Philippines, and if you get them in the office sweepstake, don't feel too hard done by. You might have got a little gem there. So no, best of luck to the Philippines. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. But thank you very much for coming in, Unnati, and passing on your wisdom. And did you want to tell our listeners where we can find you on Twitter, if you are a Twitterer, that is?
Yeah, of course. It's going to be Unnati Naidu _97 on Twitter. You can always find me there.
You can find me, if you really want to find me, on Twitter, at AdamSalter4. But yes, thank you very much for dropping in, Unnati. That was our Vic Akers Wonderland interview piece on the Philippines. Back to you at the podcast.
Thank you, Adam, for everything, and you as well, Unnati. Your knowledge has been so useful. Is there any thoughts that you've got on Philippines at all?
Do you know what? It's an unknown team for me. Don't know much about them. For some reason, the name Hallie Long jumps out at me, although she doesn't currently have a team, according to the internet. But you never know. She probably is out somewhere, and someone's missed a bit of data somewhere, and I'm probably wrong. So if you do have an answer for me, please drop it in the comments. That'd be absolutely great. But I'm quite excited to see them. It's an unknown factor for me. Plus, it's their first World Cup, so they're gonna want to do really well through it. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I will probably go a bit back towards what I said a bit earlier with New Zealand and the Shabla and things like that. It's an unknown, but I think their job will be to see how far they can go. If they can come out with this without losing or getting some sort of result, it's small steps, and then they've got something to look forward to next time around. It. You don't want to be a team that ends up going to a World Cup and not even scoring a goal, not even getting a point on the board. That would be one thing. But if they can get something to take away from it, even if they end up drawing with New Zealand, say 1-1, it's something that they can take part of and go, we've made history, not just by being here, but by taking baby steps towards maybe next time getting towards qualification. But we'll probably now go on to a champion in Norway. Their squad has just been announced today as well, so we'll just run through that quickly as possible. Oh, that's the Switzerland one. Cecilie Fiskerstrand, Aurora Mikkelsen, Guru Pettersson, Mariam Melge, Tuva Hansen, Guru Bergsvand, Anja Sivold, Marit Bratberg Lund, Mathilda Harvarviken. I do apologise in advance. I should have apologised in advance for butchering some of these names. Sarah Horter, Thea Belger, Frida Leonhardsson Mornum, Vilda Boa Risa, Guru Reiten, Ingrid Seistrad Stad Engine, Caroline Graham Hanson, Emily Harvey, Amelia Eichland, Julia Blackstead, Ada Hegerberg, Sophie Roman Haag, Karina Savecki, Anna Hoslandal even is the squad at the moment. So some names that we will recognise from the WSL, if you do follow, something that we may or may not know as much about, but that's a squad that is very intriguing. Is there any thoughts apart from my butchering of names?
Well, yeah, you did butcher that team, to be fair, but you did better than me. I'd end up starting, so well done you. Obviously, Frida Leonardson Mornum, she's one of our own. I mean, really excited for her. She's had a cracking season. I am going to make the effort to watch most of the Arsenal girls games who do get called up, just to keep an eye on them, and just enjoy the way they play football. I think something else that's really exciting is with the Norway team for me personally is I get to watch other players that I normally wouldn't watch because of the clubs they play for domestically, because with one particular team, I can't stand them. I hate them with a passion. It's not necessarily Tottenham Hotspur, because none of the Norwegian players play for Tottenham Hotspur. It's more the cases like Guru Reiten, Maren I can't pronounce the name. Majelde, and
I believe so.
And then you've got players like Ada Hagerberg, Ingrid Sisted Egan, from Barcelona, and it's just a really exciting bunch of players to come together. Although we can watch the likes of Frida Marnham, Guru Wrightin, Majelde, Boa Risa, Eikeland, Turland. Well, not necessarily Eikeland anymore because she's now been relegated, but Elizabeth Turland all in WSL on a regular basis. But it's nice just to have all these players who play for the European teams come together with the WSL players, and I think that is something really special. And I'm obviously missing out Caroline Graham-Hansen, which is a disgrace on my half. I will hold my hands up to that. But there's some exciting players in this team, and it's just, I'm excited to see what they can do. I do think they will top the group at this point, if I'm honest with you, with the way that some of these players have been playing this season. It is my opinion based on their form. I mean, at the moment, I think this will be their 9th appearance in the World Cup since 1991. Obviously, they won it in 95, which makes them champions, and that's why they've got their lovely little gold star on their shirts. I mean, their journey through to qualifying was, I have to admit, it was easy. They let in 3 goals in total. And they scored 47. So that's no disrespect to the other teams, but some of them did get tanked. To be honest with you, Armenia. I know they're not. I know half of these teams aren't full time, but the scorelines speak for themselves. When you look at home and away, to lose 10-0 to Norway it's just unbelievable. And then they beat Kosovo 3-0, then 5-1. Poland was a draw, and then they beat them 2-1, which I thought was really interesting. Watch the highlights for that. They gave it as good as they got Poland, so I'll give them that. Then we had Norway and Belgium. Belgium lost 4-0 and then 1-0, home and away. Then they also played Albania, which at home they won 7-0 and then away 5-0. So that was their qualifying. But yeah, really excited to see this team. Is there any specific player you're really excited to watch that you can watch as a neutral now?
As neutral, it's always difficult, isn't it? I think there's going to be players that I'll probably maybe look at more. For me, I have no idea why. There's some players that just you look at, and at club they just don't seem to. Everyone sort of raves and rants about them as if to say they're the best thing since sliced bread. Bled.
I think I know who you're referring to.
But it'll be interesting to see how Guru Wrightin acts. But I want to see how this squad also reacts to everything that happened at the Euros. For those that don't remember, they lost to England, they lost to Austria, and they managed to pull themselves together against Northern Ireland, but unfortunately it was too little too late.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that Norway, how can this team react after coming third in their group at the Euros when they were expected to go through in that group, in Group A?
I think with that was one of the biggest shocks for me. I wasn't expecting Norway to do that badly, but that's the exciting thing about these international, European international competitions. Anything can happen. Again, 2 dark horses, Philippines and New Zealand. Norway could fall apart like they did in the Euros, or they can take it to them and make a point. No, we are World Cup champions. Previously, we could be again, and that's what I'm expecting from this Norwegian team.
I imagine as well as you've got Carolina Graham-Hansen. I'm doing it wrong again, aren't I? I do.
Caroline.
Just Graham. I have to use Graham-Hansen because if I say the first name, it just goes. Also means Frida Marnham, Leonhardt Marnham, even before Adam has a go at me.
I was looking at you and you went to say Frida Marty. Better say it. Because no, I'm going to openly blame Adam for this. Adam, this is your fault. I no longer call her Frida Marnham. It's Leonhardt Marnham. And it's like same with Katrina Cool. I know she's not a part of this group, but it's Mola Cool. It's not Katrina Cool.
See, you do exactly what I do. Almost call it like do the science thing.
Yeah.
Mola cool, not Muller cool or Mola cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is all Adam's fault.
Yeah, we're gonna need. We're gonna have to go around asking people for their how you pronounce these players' names properly, instead, because otherwise it's all going to be very mixed up. English tourism at its best. Let's just say that.
Definitely.
One thing you didn't mention was that during the qualifications they did take on, as you mentioned, Armenia, Kosovo, Albania, Poland, Belgium, who were also qualified as well.
Yeah.
But their top goal scorer was also Caroline Graham Hansen. Yes, did it first time asking. And Elizabeth Turland. Both of them were top goal scorers for them. And as long as they can perform and get that service, I think that they should quite easily be able to get points on the board and go through.
100%. As I said earlier, as long as our favourite Guna takes her form in and brings it back to us in one piece, I will be very happy. And I'm going to be really bold here, and I'm going to back her to be the top goal scorer for Norway. I'm going to back her and do it. No matter how far that she goes in this competition, I'm going to back her to be the top goal scorer, because she's scored like 4 or 5 worldies this season, and they're like nice evenly spread, but they're just mind-boggling. I mean, when I say I've still got the Bayern Munich goal in my head in slow motion as I'm talking, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Norway play. I'm definitely try and get up a bit early to watch it, because we're going to have early morning games. If not, hopefully BBC iPlayer will have them on the replay for me. So I'll be watching a lot of football.
Yes, just to let people know, the people of the UK, that both BBC and ITV have the rights for that. So get ready for that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they do have the Euros commentators on that we had over the BBC, because if we end up having some unknown unknown commentator calling Pavlova or anything like that, I don't think it will go over very well. But
no, I mean, like with the commentator, we know how bad it is, and we've lost. Oh, who's just taken Martin Tyler's job?
Peter Drury.
Yeah, we've lost him now, but I'm also hoping, in terms that he's working with Sky, that we will get better commentary on the WSL games that are on Sky, but it's not guaranteed, and that's my only problem with that.
So we should go on to the last team, a fan favourite of pretty much every Arsenal, because they have a lot of good players in there, and I'm not just talking about the one and only captain of them, but their team has been announced, or the very only provisional squad. So I'll try and only do the last name, because it was a car crash doing the Norway ones. So of the goalkeepers, Friedley, Herzog, Peng, and Thalman. Then we have our outfield players. So Agbogan, Arfawi, Ramona Bachmann, Benny Bula, Viola Caligaris, Anna Maria Cernagosovic. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to do that again. Anna Maria Cernagosovic. I can do that one.
I can't do that one, so well done you.
Although it's supposed to be Cernagosovic.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
close enough. Laura Felber, Fabienne Hum, Alicia Lehman, or as you like to call her.
No, we're not going to announce that in the private conversation. No.
Yeah.
No. Just keep going. Who's next?
Guess who? Noel Meritz.
No.
Marty this is going to sound really weird. I'm going to try and do it. Maron. Because if I say it, it's going to sound like moron. Poubelle. See how I made you laugh? See, that was not meant to happen. That's why I did it with the accent.
I do apologise. I should not be laughing at his pronunciation, but he's all right. Group B, you can get me back.
Yes, if anyone does want to give me pronunciations lessons, please send them to my Twitter. Routelier, Ray, Rysen, Kumbasau, Julia Sterelli, Miriam Touchon, Ella Toulon, Leah Volti, and Raiola Gemelli is the squad at the moment, but that is only for the preparation, so we're expecting about 3 or 4 of those players that will be not in that World Cup squad. Switzerland finished second in their group and then ended up in the playoff position, missed out on qualification by 2 points. It would have been, had they have gone, they would have, oh God. Got too excited there. Apologies, our YouTube viewers. Had they have won, they would have gone through on a top on goal difference. So who they faced: Italy, who actually won the group; Romania, Croatia, Lithuania, and Moldova. Switzerland were forced to then play Wales. I say forced, but it was a hell of a game. It ended up going into extra time, with Fabian Hum scoring the winner, Roma Bachmann equalising, but Cumbia scoring the 9 goals that got them into that position. It was a hell of a game. It was a hell of a way to qualify, and to do it in the last kick of a game as well just makes it a little bit sweeter. And I think this Switzerland team is going to be an interesting one. We saw what they did at the Euros. Unfortunately, they missed out on qualifying for the knockout stages. Because all they needed to do was get a result against the Netherlands, and the Netherlands ended up winning that game. But it was a very interesting group that they had in the Euros. But what do you expect this time around?
Honestly, I expect the same standard of football from Switzerland. Obviously, trust in the defence and the likes of Noel Maritz, midfield, Lee Schleiman and Leah Volti. We know what both of those players can do. I did enjoy watching Switzerland in Euros. It was a case of my first Euros last summer. There was so much to watch, and there's so much has gone on, and you just pick up different players you want to continue watching. I am hoping to do that with them for the World Cup, so I can watch more football, because I'm loving the women's game at the moment. It's good fun. It's great fun, and it's not overly dramatic like the men's on the transfer. So I'm actually enjoying the transfer window.
Even though it's not officially open yet.
I know, but the rumours and circulation, they're not that bad, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, no, I know what Leah Volti's bringing. I want to watch her captain a bit more, because she doesn't do that at Arsenal. Noel Maritz, I want to see the beast that comes out in the Champions League. That's what I want to see. Because there's Maritz that plays in the WSL, and then there's Maritz that plays in the Champions League. That Maritz scares me, not the WSL. Maritz in the Champions League scares me, and that's what I want to see for Switzerland. Don't know much about the rest of the team, unfortunately. I'm not going to pretend I do, but yeah, I do feel they're going to. My feeling is they're going to come second in the group for me personally.
It is difficult. I think a lot of these groups we're going to be talking about similar things, that either it's going to be a walk in the park for some of these teams, but other times they've struggled. Take Norway, for example. They quite easily have gone. It's almost like the experience of the Euros. They've got to take that, and they've got to make sure that they qualify. I feel the same way for Switzerland. Switzerland have such a good team going forwards and in the defence, and even with Leah Volti in the midfield as well. that they have enough quality there to go through, but it's a case of, are New Zealand and the Philippines going to cause a little bit of mayhem in the group by upsetting a few? It's too hard to call, but you'd imagine that Norway, Switzerland are going to qualify, but I'm not too sure which way it could go, if I'm honest, because I think we're going to see a Switzerland that is very much going to be ready and waiting to get their chances against, say, a Norway, but against New Zealand we might see a totally different style of play, and it's quite exciting because it means there's going to be different ways for them to play. New players will come in. I imagine that we're going to see a lot of different players and different sides of them. We talked about Lottie not being captain for the country, but she has done it a couple of times, and it's a very similar.
Sorry, Matt, don't you mean being captain for Arsenal?
Arsenal, thank you.
She's captain of her country. Sorry.
That's it. Yes.
I'm just sitting there. Hang on a second. Other way around. No worries. Absolutely no worries.
She has done it a couple of times this season for Arsenal. It was at one point. It was almost like we were playing a bingo card of who hasn't had the captain's armband.
Yeah, and there was also that point where we thought the captain armband was cursed.
It did feel that way, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, especially in the second half of the season. It was just like, no. But back to the international football.
Yeah,
excited to see this whole group, if I'm honest with you, because you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah,
Switzerland and Norway might not even turn up. Philippines and New Zealand could shock us, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting. How do you think this group is gonna play out in terms of ranking? Who is gonna be in that top spot and that second spot, and then the third and fourth? Who?
I think this is the problem, isn't it? Is that I keep on mentioning Norway have this mentality, all these great players, but what's the point of having great players if they can't work together as a team, which is probably one of their downfalls at the Euros, whereas Austria just played them out off the park and were quite easily comfortable in the end to get that qualification in the Euros.
Mm-hmm.
I feel Switzerland are a team that knows how to turn up when they need to, and I think when we're throwing a bit of unknowns, it's going to be hard. But if I had to at the moment, I'll probably go Norway, Switzerland. Unfortunately, I'll go New Zealand, then Philippines. But I wouldn't say that anything is a certain, because anything can happen, and we know this in football.
No, of course. This is why it's called predictions. And you know what's ironic? I've got those names in that. I've got the teams written down in that order too. So it's no disrespect to New Zealand and the Philippines. It's just the way things are at the minute, unfortunately. And this is based on what knowledge I know, and I'm sure Matt is doing the same thing. There's utterly no disrespect, but I think now we need to move on to our five-a-side teams, which is going to be fun. I didn't really enjoy this one very much. Basically, you've got your five-a-side. You're allowed 2 players from one team, which for me was really tricky. Unfortunately, I have gone Arsenal biased personally. I couldn't help myself. Really couldn't help myself, especially with the 3 players we got. So from the Philippines, I have Kaya Jota for my goalkeeper. In defence, I've got Ali Riley. I've got Leah Volti and Frida Marnham in the middle. And then up top, I have Guru Wrighton. Dare I say it?
It is an interesting one, because you think of that group, and I think a lot of us don't know a lot about these other teams, so we have to kind of base it off of players that we may or may not know.
Yeah.
I've pretty much gone for a similar team, almost. Ina Palacios in goal of the Philippines, Ria Percival of New Zealand.
Oh, Tottenham Hotspur player. Ooh.
Yes, unfortunately, I had to. The only New Zealand player that I had, and unfortunately, they have not announced their squad right now.
I know. I know. I'm just winding you up, Matt. I couldn't help myself. You knew it was coming. Come
Go
on. It's Tottenham. It's Tottenham. Who's Tottenham? Tottenham Hotspur. Cast my fishing line, wind it in, bites every time.
I originally had Ramona Bachmann or Fabian Hum, but they're both forwards. So I realised I didn't have a proper midfielder. So in the end, I've chosen Leah Volti.
It had to be her.
People say I'm a Leah Volti enthusiast. I tried to avoid it.
You are. You are. Own it.
I do have to frame that that shirt that I've got of hers.
Yep.
And Julie Blackstad, who was of Man City in the midfield of Norway, and then Graham Hansen up top for
Nice. If I'm honest with you, I would with my team for the midfield, it was between Leah Volti and Ingrid Sierstad Engine
Yes.
from Barcelona, but obviously I had Frida in there, and it didn't happen.
You need someone defensively solid alongside Frida.
Yeah, exactly. Although Ingrid is her defender's not too bad, but Leah Volti I know inside out, so I watch her nearly every week for the Arsenal. But yeah, no, I actually enjoyed that. We're gonna have to do that for every episode now. So, guys, if you want, in the comments below, drop your 5-a-side. Only rule is you can have 2 players from one team, because it's 5 and there's only 4 teams in each group. Please, in the comments, let us know who you're going to choose. It doesn't matter if the players haven't been picked yet, because obviously we haven't got the New Zealand or the Philippines. Well, the New Zealand lineup only. We've actually got all the lineups for all the other 3 groups. What am I talking about? So
They are
for New Zealand, you can go on what you know. You can go with Ria Percival from Tottenham Hotspur. If you want, that's fine, but you've still got to pick a Kiwi player, regardless. Or you can do what I did and go for the Angel City defender, Ali Riley, and then that's New Zealand covered.
It's a great question if you think about, and I'm always interested to know these things because it also makes you research the players a little bit more. Obviously, some of the squads aren't going to be announced, but they should be all announced by, I believe it's Friday. So at the very least, the preliminary squads you've got until then. And these games that we do, it's all fun and games, and I'm looking forward to the next one, which will be Group B.
Yeah, I am back hosting on Friday night. Got 2 very special guests coming through, I hope. Definitely got one secured at the moment, which is really exciting for me, because she runs one of my favourite accounts on social media. So really excited. So make sure you come back and find out who that is. It's very, very exciting. But my second guest, I haven't quite secured it yet, but I should hopefully sort that this week. And yeah, really, really exciting. For any of our guests for tonight, if you do want to follow them on social media, the handles will be in the description below.
Yeah, so that is all from us all tonight from Vic Akers Wonderland. We are still on the road to Stadium Australia. Next up, we are making our way slowly to Group B, and from there, it'll be a very nice and interesting one. Hopefully, we'll have some more updates for you soon as possible as well. Just to let everyone know, my Twitter handle is @MattLR28. Lottie?
You can follow me at Lottie_AWFC.
And we have been a Vic Akers Wonderland road to Stadium Australia. See you for the next one. Bye.
See you later.